Imagine planning your daughter's birthday party, year after agonizing year, only for your own family to never show up. 6 years, 6 heartbreaks. And then they had the absolute audacity to demand my money for their kid's extravagant birthday holiday, calling me selfish. That's when something inside me snapped. My name is Elena, I'm 34, and this is the story of how my family finally showed their true colors, and how I learned to stand up for myself and my incredible 9-year-old daughter, Isla. It all started 7 years ago when Isla was turning 2. I wanted to throw her first real birthday party. Nothing fancy, just a simple family gathering, cake, some decorations, that perfect little birthday dress. I sent out invitations 2 weeks in advance. My parents, Douglas and Marilyn, my sister Hannah, her husband Evan, and their twin boys who were 4 at the time. The day came. Isla was beaming in her dress. The cake was ready, streamers hung brightly. But then nobody. Just silence. My heart shattered into a million pieces watching Isla's expectant little face. I called my mom. Oh honey, we completely forgot. Hannah's boys had a soccer game, and we all went to support them. Maybe next year. Maybe next year? That phrase haunted me. Because next year came and the same thing happened. A different excuse but the same crushing emptiness. My dad had an unmissable golf tournament. The year after, Hannah was sick, and my parents were helping with the twins. Then a work conference. Then a family reunion on my dad's side that somehow I wasn't invited to. Then they were all at Disney World together without us. And last year, another emergency with Hannah's family, which I only discovered through their beaming Facebook photos. Every single year I'd plan Isla's party, send the invites, hold on to a sliver of hope, and every single year, they'd have some convenient excuse. Isla, my sweet, resilient girl, eventually stopped asking if Grandma and Grandpa were coming. She stopped getting excited about her own birthday. By the time she was 9, my daughter had learned that the people who were supposed to love her unconditionally always had something more important to do. Can you imagine the pain of watching your child learn that lesson from her own family? But here's what really twisted the knife. What made the betrayal burn even deeper? They never missed Hannah's boys' birthdays. Not once. I have photo albums bursting with proof. Elaborate pool parties, carnival themes, superhero extravaganzas, the works. And my family, always there front and center with expensive gifts and wide, joyous smiles. This year for Isla's 9th birthday, which was just 3 weeks ago, I didn't even bother inviting them. We had a small, intimate party with her school friends and my wonderful neighbor Karen, who, honestly, has become more of a grandmother to Isla than my own mother ever was. Isla had an absolute blast, and for once I didn't spend the day fighting back tears, watching my daughter's disappointment. For once we just celebrated. And that brings us to last Tuesday. I was at work when my phone buzzed with a text from my mother. It read, Elena, we need $5,800 for Brandon and Blake's birthday holiday. Everyone's chipping in. Hannah found this amazing party planning company that does incredible destination birthday experiences. We're taking the boys to this resort in Colorado for a long weekend. There's skiing, a private party room, professional photographers, the whole 9 yards. Your share is $1,450. I stared at that text for 5 long, incredulous minutes. $1,450. For my nephew's birthday party. That was more than I spent on Isla's entire birthday gifts, cake, decorations, movie outing with friends, everything. Before I could even process it, another text pinged through. Don't be cheap this time, Elena. The boys are turning 10, and this is a milestone birthday. We want to make it special. Then my father, Douglas, chimed in on the group chat, laying down the law. Real family members contribute properly. This is what we do for each other. And finally, the ultimate gut punch from Hannah herself. You owe us for years of being selfish. It's time you stepped up and showed you care about this family. I sat in my car in the parking lot, reading those messages over and over, a cold rage settling in my chest. Years of being selfish. I was selfish. I was the one who had spent 6 straight years begging them to show up for my daughter. I was the one who had made endless excuses to Isla about why her own family couldn't be bothered to spend 2 hours celebrating her existence. By the way, if you're still with me and this story has your jaw on the floor, you know what to do. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. More unbelievable stories are coming your way, and you won't want to miss them. Now, here's where the story gets really interesting, and where a little context about my family's financial situation becomes crucial. My parents aren't wealthy, but they're comfortable. Dad's a retired electrician. Mom was a school secretary. They live modestly but have a decent nest egg. Hannah and Evan, on the other hand, always struggled a bit more. He's a mechanic, she does part-time bookkeeping. Me? I'm a project manager for a mid-sized company, and do pretty well for myself. About 4 years ago, my parents came to me with an idea. A family financial support system. We'd all contribute to shared accounts for emergencies, big purchases, or special occasions. It sounded reasonable at the time. I was making good money and I genuinely wanted to help. So we set up several shared accounts. I was listed as the primary account holder on most of them, mainly because I had the best credit and banking relationship. I contributed $300 a month to a vacation fund, $200 a month to an emergency fund, and $150 a month to a special occasions fund. Over the years, I watched money flow out of these accounts like water for Hannah's family. Emergency car repairs for Evan, help with their mortgage when Evan was laid off, down payment assistance when they bought a bigger house, and of course birthday parties for the twins. Lots of them. In 4 years, I contributed over $31,000 to these family funds. The money I took out? Zero. Not a single penny. Even when my own car needed major repairs last year, I paid for it myself. When Isla needed expensive orthodontic work, I took out a personal loan instead of touching the family money. I had been subsidizing my sister's family for years while they couldn't be bothered to show up for my daughter's birthday. So when I got those texts demanding $1,450 for the twins' Colorado birthday extravaganza, something inside me snapped. I went home that night heart-pounding and did the math. Between the shared accounts and direct loans that were never repaid, I'd given my family over $35,000 in the past 4 years. $35,000 to people who couldn't spare 2 hours once a year to eat cake with my daughter. That night I made a decision. Wednesday morning I went to the bank. I withdrew $2 from my personal account, Crisp Singles. Then I went to the post office and bought the cheapest, most generic birthday card I could find. Inside I wrote, "Here's my contribution to Brandon and Blake's party. Hope it's everything you dreamed of. Unfortunately, Isla and I won't be able to attend, as we seem to have a scheduling conflict that day. Funny how that works. P.S. Wrong guest list. Love, Elena." I taped the $2 inside and mailed it to Hannah. But I wasn't done. Not by a long shot. Next, I went back to the bank and had myself removed from all the shared accounts, except as a secondary user with viewing privileges only. Since I was the primary holder, I could do this unilaterally. I also changed all the passwords on the online banking and set up alerts for any attempted transactions. Then I called the credit card companies for the 2 family credit cards where I was the primary. I temporarily froze them, citing suspicious activity concerns. That vacation fund they were planning to use for their Colorado trip? Locked down tight. I went home and waited. Thursday morning my phone started ringing. Hannah first. "Elena, what the hell did you do? The party company says our payment was declined." Then Mom. "Honey, there seems to be some problem with the vacation account. The bank says there's a hold on it." Then Dad. "Elena, this isn't funny. We need access to that money. The resort requires a deposit by tomorrow, or we lose the booking." I let them all go to voicemail, a small grim smile forming on my lips. Finally around noon I called Hannah back. "Hi Jess. Got your message about the payment issues. That's so strange. You know what else is strange? Isla has had 8 birthdays and you've managed to miss every single one. But somehow, you need nearly $6,000 for your boys' party, and that's non-negotiable. This is different, Elena. This is a special occasion," she shrieked. "You're right," I retorted, my voice dangerously calm. "It is different. It's different because it's not my daughter, so it actually matters to you. That's not fair." "You want to know what's not fair, Hannah? I've put over $35,000 into family funds over the past 4 years. Money that's paid for your car repairs, helped with your mortgage, funded who knows how many birthday parties for Brandon and Blake. And in all that time you couldn't manage to show up for Isla once. Not once. We've been busy. Save it." I cut her off. "I'm done. Find another way to pay for your party." And I hung up. By Friday the calls were getting nasty. Dad accused me of holding the family hostage. Mom cried about how I was ruining the boy's birthday. Hannah left a voicemail that I won't repeat here. But it involved a lot of words I didn't know she knew. Saturday came and went. No birthday party in Colorado. But here's where it gets really spectacularly good. Sunday morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls and about 30 text messages. Apparently, my family had decided to take matters into their own hands. They tried to use the frozen credit cards. When that didn't work, they somehow got access to one of the shared accounts. I'm still not sure how, possibly through Mom, who was a secondary user, and attempted to transfer money for the resort. The bank's fraud detection system flagged it immediately. A large, unusual transaction to an out-of-state business, attempted on a weekend, on an account that had already been flagged for suspicious activity. The transaction was blocked, and the account was temporarily frozen pending investigation. My family, in their infinite wisdom, decided the best course of action was to call the bank and report fraud. They told the bank that someone had illegally frozen their accounts and credit cards, and that they needed immediate access to their money. Monday morning I was at work when my phone rang. An unknown number, but I recognized the bank's call center prefix. Miss Johnson, this is Patricia from Central Bank's Fraud Department. We have a few questions about some accounts associated with your name. My heart started pounding. This was it. The moment of truth. Of course, I replied, forcing a calm I didn't entirely feel. How can I help you? We've received reports of fraudulent activity on several accounts where you're listed as the primary holder. The reporting parties claim that unauthorized holds have been placed on the accounts, and that credit cards have been frozen without their permission. I took a deep breath and a wide smile spread across my face, even though Patricia couldn't see me. Oh, those accounts. Yes, I can explain everything. You see, those are family accounts that I set up and funded. I'm the primary account holder, as your records will show. Last week, I became concerned about unauthorized usage of the accounts by secondary users. So, I implemented security holds to protect the funds. I see. And the credit cards. Same situation. I was concerned about potential misuse, so I requested temporary holds until I could verify all recent transactions. There was a pause. Then Patricia's voice, clear and professional. Miss Johnson, our records show that you are indeed the primary account holder on all of these accounts. You have every legal right to manage them as you see fit. The secondary users don't have the authority to override your decisions or report fraud on accounts they don't own. That's what I thought, I said, a wave of calm washing over me. So what happens now? Well, we'll be contacting the reporting parties to let them know that no fraud has occurred. The holds you've placed will remain in effect until you choose to remove them. Is there anything else you need from us today? Actually, yes, I said, my smile growing. I'd like to close the shared accounts entirely and transfer any remaining funds to my personal account. And I'd like to remove all secondary users from my credit cards. We can absolutely help you with that. Would you like to schedule an appointment to come in and take care of this? Yes, please. As soon as possible. After I hung up, I sat in my office grinning like an idiot. My family had just handed me the perfect justification for cutting them off financially. By reporting fraud, they'd essentially admitted they believed they had rights to my money that they didn't actually have. The bank called them back that same afternoon. I know this because Hannah immediately called me screaming, "How dare you? How dare you cut us off like this? Mom and Dad are devastated. The boys are heartbroken. You've ruined everything." I've ruined everything, Hannah. I shot back, my voice steady. I offered you a solution. You could have acknowledged that Isla exists. You could have shown up for her birthday parties. You could have treated my daughter like she matters. Instead, you demanded money while calling me selfish. This is about money, not Isla. No, Hannah. This is about respect. This is about the fact that you think I owe you something while giving nothing in return. This is about my daughter learning that family is supposed to love you unconditionally, not just when it's convenient. You're being ridiculous. Am I? Let me ask you something. When's Isla's birthday? Silence. Just deafening, empty silence. You don't know, do you? Your own niece, and you don't even know when her birthday is. More silence. It's September 15th, Jess. She turned 9 3 weeks ago. Had a great party with people who actually care about her. I hung up. Tuesday, I went to the bank and closed all the shared accounts. The vacation fund had $3,247 in it. The emergency fund had $8,093. The special occasions fund had $1,834. All of it went into my personal savings account. I also got copies of all the transaction histories, 4 years of detailed records showing exactly where the money had gone. Car payment help for Hannah and Evan, for $1,200. Mortgage assistance, $6,500. Home repairs, $2,800. And birthday parties for the twins over the years, a staggering $3,680. Meanwhile, money spent on Isla from these family funds? $0. I had documentation of everything. Wednesday, Mom called. "Elena, honey, we need to talk. This has gone too far." Has it, Mom? Has it really gone too far? Or has it finally gone far enough? We're family. We're supposed to support each other. You're absolutely right. We are supposed to support each other. So tell me, Mom, how exactly have you supported Isla over the past 6 years? We send her Christmas gifts. You send her a $20 gift card to Target every Christmas. Hannah's boys get gaming systems and bikes and trips to theme parks. Isla gets a gift card. Why is that, Mom? Why don't you have the same relationship with your granddaughter that you do with your grandsons? We don't have the same relationship with Isla that we do with the boys, she mumbled. And there it was. The truth finally brutally out in the open. Why is that, Mom? Is it because she's not a boy? Is it because she's my daughter and not Hannah's? Why do they matter more? It's complicated, Elena. You and Hannah have always had your differences. Stop. Just stop. This isn't about Hannah and me. This is about an 8-year-old girl who has spent 6 years wondering why her grandparents don't love her enough to show up for her birthday. We do love her. Mom insisted, her voice cracking. No, you don't, I stated, my voice firm. You love the idea of her. You love being able to say you have 3 grandchildren, but you don't actually love Isla. Because if you did, you would have shown up just once. In 6 years, you could have shown up just once. Mom started crying. We didn't realize. You didn't realize because you didn't want to realize. It was easier to pretend that skipping Isla's birthday was no big deal than to admit you were playing favorites. What do you want from us, Elena? I want you to admit what you've done. I want you to acknowledge that you've treated Isla like she doesn't matter. And I want you to understand that actions have consequences. Are you saying we'll never see Isla again? I'm saying that seeing Isla is a privilege that you've lost. If you want a relationship with your granddaughter, you're going to have to earn it back. And it starts with admitting what you've done wrong. She hung up. Thursday, Dad called. That conversation went about as well as you'd expect. He accused me of being manipulative and using Isla as a weapon. I calmly pointed out that Isla had been the target for 6 years, and I was just finally defending her. Friday, Hannah sent a long text message that was equal parts apology and accusation. She was sorry I felt they treated Isla unfairly, but I was overreacting, and cutting off the family financially was cruel and vindictive. I screenshot the message and sent it to my friend Karen, who's been like a second mother to me through this whole mess. Her response was perfect. Cruel and vindictive is missing a little girl's birthday 6 years in a row. What you did was just good accounting. It's been 2 weeks now since the bank called. My family has made a few more attempts to reach out, but mostly they've gone quiet. I think they're finally starting to understand that I'm serious. Isla, meanwhile, is thriving. Without the stress of planning birthday parties that no one would attend, without the disappointment of hoping this year would be different, she's happier. She started talking about her next birthday already. Not because she expects anyone specific to be there, but because she knows the people who love her will show up. Karen has become Isla's honorary grandmother. My coworker Janet, whose kids are grown, has basically adopted us both. Isla has more loving adult figures in her life now than she ever did when I was trying to force a relationship with my biological family. Last weekend we ran into my parents at the grocery store. Isla didn't recognize them at first. It had been over a year since she'd seen them. When she realized who they were, she politely said hello and then asked if we could go look at the birthday party supplies. Are you planning another party? My mother asked hopefully, her eyes wide. Yep, Isla said brightly. My friend Chloe's birthday is next week, and I want to help her mom decorate. Mom's face fell. She was hoping Isla was planning her own party, one they could potentially be invited to. What about your birthday, sweetheart? Dad asked. When's your next birthday? Isla looked at him with a kind of clarity that only children possess. September 15th. Same as always, Grandpa. They had no response to that. As we walked away, Isla tugged on my sleeve. Mom, why did Grandpa ask when my birthday is? Doesn't he know? Some people forget important things, baby. I said, a lump in my throat. That's sad, she said matter-of-factly. I remember everyone's birthday. She does. This 9-year-old child remembers the birthdays of her classmates, her teachers, the mail carrier, our neighbors. She makes little cards and draws pictures, and asks me to help her pick out small gifts with her allowance money. My daughter has more emotional intelligence and kindness in her little finger than my entire family has combined. The financial records I pulled from the bank have been eye-opening in ways I didn't expect. It's not just the big things like car payments and mortgage help. It's also smaller amounts that I'd forgotten about. $50 here for school supplies for the twins, $100 there for sports equipment, $75 for a family dinner, when they were short this week. Death by 1,000 cuts, except I was the one bleeding. I've calculated that if I had put the money I was contributing to family funds into Isla's college savings account instead, she'd have over $30,000 waiting for her by now. $30,000 that could have secured her future, instead spent on people who couldn't be bothered to secure her happiness. That stops now. Every penny that used to go to family funds now goes into Isla's education account. She'll go to college debt-free if I have anything to say about it. I've also started a separate savings account for Isla's future birthday parties. Real parties. The kind where people show up because they want to celebrate her, not because they feel obligated. The kind where she gets to make memories with people who choose to be there. My sister posted on Facebook last week about Brandon and Blake's birthday. They ended up having a party at Chuck E. Cheese. She made sure to mention how disappointed the boys were that their special trip got canceled due to family drama. Several relatives commented asking what happened. Hannah's responses were vague, but painted me as the villain. I let her have that narrative. The people who matter know the truth. But here's the thing about truth. It has a way of coming out eventually. My cousin Rachel, who lives across the country and only sees us at major family events, called me yesterday. She'd seen Hannah's Facebook post and wanted to know what was going on. I told her everything. The missed birthdays, the financial contributions, the final straw with the Colorado trip demand. Wait, Rachel said. Isla's birthday is in September, right? I remember because it's close to mine. September 15th. Elena, I've been to at least 3 birthday parties for Brandon and Blake over the years when I visited, but I don't think I've ever been invited to one of Isla's parties. That's because the family never came, I explained, my voice tight. I stopped inviting extended family after the 3rd year. There was a long pause. Oh my God, Elena. I had no idea. I just assumed Isla's parties were at different times or smaller, or I never thought. Most people didn't think about it, I replied, a bitter taste in my mouth. That was kind of the point. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Rachel has promised to come visit for Isla's next birthday. She's also apparently been asking pointed questions in the family group chat that I'm no longer part of. Questions like, when was the last time anyone here went to Isla's birthday party? And why are we all contributing to the twins' parties but not Isla's? The silence, according to Rachel, has been deafening. I'm not looking for vindication at this point. I'm not trying to turn the family against each other or prove how wrong I've been. I've moved past that. What I'm focused on now is building a life for Isla where she doesn't have to question her worth based on who shows up for her birthday. Where she doesn't have to compete with her cousins for basic acknowledgement from her grandparents. Where she can grow up knowing that the people in her life choose to be there because they value her. Not because they're obligated to tolerate her. It's been liberating. Honestly, I no longer wake up on Isla's birthday with anxiety about whether this will be the year they surprise us. I no longer spend money I don't have trying to keep peace with people who bring no peace to my life. I no longer make excuses for adults who should know better. Isla and I are planning a camping trip for next month. Just the 2 of us, some Esmeraldas, and a tent under the stars. She's more excited about this simple trip than she ever was about the elaborate parties I used to plan in hopes of impressing my family. Mom, she said last night as I was tucking her in, I'm glad it's just us sometimes. Yeah? Why is that, baby? Because when it's just us, I know everyone there really wants to be there. Out of the mouths of babes. The bank fraud incident became a blessing in disguise. It forced me to confront the financial manipulation I've been subjecting myself to for years. It gave me legal cover to cut off the money flow without looking like the bad guy to outside observers. And it provided clear documentation of exactly how one-sided this family support system had always been. My parents have made a few more attempts to reconcile, but they still won't admit they did anything wrong. Dad insists that birthday parties aren't that important, and that I'm making a mountain out of a molehill. Mom keeps saying she never meant to hurt Isla's feelings, while simultaneously defending every decision they made. Hannah has gone full victim mode. According to my cousin Rachel, she's telling everyone who will listen that I financially abused the family, and that I'm withholding Isla as punishment. The irony of claiming I'm withholding Isla when they never bothered to see her anyway seems to be lost on her. I've started seeing a therapist to work through some of the guilt and anger I've been carrying. It turns out that being the family scapegoat for years does a number on your self-worth, even when you know intellectually that you're not to blame. Dr. Martinez has helped me understand that what I experienced was a form of emotional manipulation called financial enmeshment. By making me the primary contributor to family funds while denying my daughter equal treatment, they created a system where I was always in debt to them emotionally, even though I was the one providing financially. You weren't just giving them money, she explained. You were buying the hope that they would eventually treat Isla fairly. They were selling you that hope while never intending to deliver. That hit hard because it was so accurate. Every month when I transferred money to those accounts, part of me was thinking, maybe this will make them see us as real family members. Maybe this investment will pay off in love and inclusion. Never did. Never would have. Isla has started asking fewer questions about why we don't see Grandma and Grandpa anymore. At first, she was confused and a little sad, but children are remarkably adaptable, especially when their daily life improves. Her daily life has improved dramatically. Without the stress of managing family drama and financial obligations, I'm more present with her. We've started having regular movie nights, weekend adventures, and lazy Sunday morning pancake sessions. The energy I was spending on trying to maintain relationships with people who didn't value us is now focused entirely on the child who deserves it. She's also more confident at school. Her teacher, Mrs. Peterson, mentioned during our last conference that Isla seems lighter this year. More willing to speak up in class, more engaged with her peers, more comfortable being herself. Whatever changes you've made at home, Mrs. Peterson said, keep doing them. Isla is blossoming. I didn't tell her that the main change was removing toxic people from our lives, but I filed that feedback away as confirmation that I'd made the right choice. The money I recovered from the shared accounts is earning interest in Isla's college fund. At current contribution rates, she'll have close to $80,000 for her education by the time she graduates high school. That's generational change right there. The difference between starting adult life with debt versus starting with opportunity. I've also used some of the money to create new traditions for us. We've taken up pottery classes together. We're planning a trip to Washington, D.C. next summer. I've enrolled her in piano lessons, something she's been asking about for 2 years, but I couldn't afford while I was supporting my extended family. These aren't just activities. They're investments in Isla's development and in our relationship. They're the kind of memories she'll carry forward into her own adulthood and potentially her own parenting. Last week marked exactly 1 month since the bank called me about the fraud report. To celebrate this milestone in our independence, Isla and I went out for ice cream. As we sat in the parlor sharing a sundae, she looked up at me, chocolate on her chin, and said, "Mom, I think this has been the best month ever." "Yeah? What makes you think that?" I asked, touched. "You smile more now," she said simply, "and you don't look at your phone and get sad anymore." She was right. I had been getting sad every time I saw messages from my family. Sad and anxious and guilty and frustrated. Now my phone buzzes with messages from Isla's friends' parents planning playdates, from Karen checking in on us, from Rachel sending Isla silly memes and photos of her own kids. My phone brings joy now instead of dread. Isla has started talking about her 10th birthday, still months away. But instead of the cautious hope she used to have about family showing up, she's excited about specific friends she wants to invite and activities she wants to do. "Can we have it at the park again?" she asked. "And can Karen bring her famous cookies? And can we invite Mrs. Peterson? We can invite whoever you want, baby." I told her, my heart full. "It's your day." "Good," she said, a confident little nod. "I want people there who actually like birthdays." From the mouths of babes, indeed. I've been thinking a lot about what I want Isla to learn from this situation. Not the ugly parts. She doesn't need to carry the burden of adult dysfunction, but the lesson that she has value, that she deserves to be treated well, and that it's okay to walk away from people who consistently prove they don't appreciate her. Those are hard lessons that took me 34 years to learn. If she can learn them at 9, she'll be so much stronger than I ever was. The ripple effects of cutting off my family have been more far-reaching than I initially expected. For instance, I had no idea how much mental energy I was spending on managing their expectations and demands until that energy was suddenly free. I sleep better now. I don't wake up in the middle of the night wondering if I should have contributed more to some family crisis or questioning whether I was being too harsh by prioritizing Isla's needs. There's also been an unexpected financial education component to this whole experience. Isla has started asking questions about money, not in a greedy way, but with genuine curiosity about why some people have more than others and how families should handle money together. We've had age-appropriate conversations about budgeting, saving, and the difference between helping people you love and being taken advantage of. "Mom," she asked last week while we were grocery shopping, "why did you give Aunt Hannah money if she wasn't nice to us?" I paused, choosing my words carefully. Sometimes adults make mistakes when they're trying to keep peace in their family. I thought if I helped them with money, they would want to spend time with us too. But that's not how love works. "Love isn't something you buy," she finished, her eyes wide and knowing. "Exactly. Real love is free, but it's also a choice people make every day." She nodded seriously, then brightened. "Like how Karen chooses to bring us cookies even though she doesn't have to." Exactly like that. These conversations have been worth more than any family gathering ever was. Isla is developing a healthy understanding of relationships and boundaries that will serve her well throughout her life. I've also discovered that cutting off toxic family members opened up emotional space for healthier relationships to flourish. My friendship with Karen has deepened into something resembling a mother-daughter bond. Not to replace my own mother, but to show me what that relationship could look like when it's based on mutual respect and genuine care. My coworker Janet has become an unofficial aunt to Isla, teaching her card games and sharing stories about her own kids' childhoods. The mail carrier, Mr. Rodriguez, always asks about Isla's latest art projects and remembers to bring her those special stamps she collects. These people chose to be part of our lives without any obligation or shared DNA. They show up because they want to, not because they have to. The contrast with my biological family couldn't be starker. There's been one particularly telling incident that really drove home how right I was to make this break. About 6 weeks ago, Isla came down with a stomach bug that turned into a pretty severe case of dehydration. I had to take her to the emergency room on a Sunday night, and she ended up needing 4 fluids. It was scary. The kind of parenting moment that makes you realize how alone you can feel when your child is sick. But I wasn't alone. Karen met us at the hospital and stayed until Isla was discharged at 2 a.m. Janet brought us groceries the next day, so I wouldn't have to leave Isla while she was recovering. Mr. Rodriguez even stopped by to check on us during his route. My parents? They found out about the hospital visit 3 days later through a Facebook post Karen made. And Dad sent a text asking if Isla was okay now. Not an offer to help, not a request to visit, just a perfunctory check-in that felt more like due diligence than genuine concern. That's when I knew beyond any doubt that I'd made the right choice. The people who truly care about Isla proved it when it mattered. The people who claim to care about her but can't be bothered to show up for birthdays certainly weren't going to show up for medical emergencies. The financial independence I've gained has also allowed me to be more generous with the people who actually matter. I've been able to help Karen with her car repair costs when her fixed income couldn't cover them. I contributed to a fund for Janet's grandson's school trip. I sponsor a child through a local charity program, something I always wanted to do but couldn't afford, while I was subsidizing my sister's family. It feels amazing to have my money go toward people and causes that align with my values, rather than disappearing into a black hole of entitled relatives who see my contributions as their due rather than my gift. The final piece of this story is still being written. My family hasn't given up entirely. Mom calls every few weeks, usually with some variation of, "Can't we just put this behind us?" Dad sends occasional texts about not letting pride destroy the family. Hannah alternates between angry messages and guilt trip attempts. But here's what they don't understand. There's nothing to put behind us until they acknowledge what they put in front of us. There's no family to destroy because they already destroyed it by treating my daughter as less than her cousins for 6 straight years. I'm not asking for groveling. I'm not demanding they mortgage their house to pay for Isla's next birthday party. I'm asking for the bare minimum, acknowledgement that they were wrong, and evidence that they understand why it was wrong. Until that happens, Isla and I will continue building our chosen family with people who show up, people who remember birthdays, people who treat a little girl like she matters simply because she exists. And if they never come around, that's their loss, not ours. Because here's what I've learned. Family isn't about blood. It's about commitment. It's about showing up. It's about choosing to love someone consistently, not just when it's convenient. My biological family failed that test repeatedly. But Isla and we've passed it with each other every single day. That's the real victory here. Not the money I recovered. Not the satisfaction of watching them scramble when their fraud report backfired. Not the vindication of finally standing up for myself. The real victory is that my daughter is learning she deserves better. And she's growing up in an environment where better is exactly what she gets. When the bank called me about that fraud report, I smiled because I finally had the legal backing to do what I should have done years ago. But I'm still smiling now, months later, because I can see the long-term effects of that decision playing out in real time. Isla is happier. I'm happier. Our life is simpler, more authentic, more peaceful. And every night when I tuck her in, she knows without a doubt that she is loved, valued, and worth showing up for. That's worth more than all the shared accounts and family obligations in the world. Update. It's been 3 months now since I first shared this story, and people keep asking for updates. So here's where things stand. Rachel came to visit for Isla's 10th birthday last month. She brought her own kids, and it was the first time Isla had cousins at her party who were actually excited to be there. Rachel also brought photo albums, showing Isla all the family events she'd missed over the years. Not to make her sad, but to help her understand that the problem was never with her. My parents made one last, desperate attempt at reconciliation 2 weeks before Isla's birthday. They showed up at our house unannounced with expensive gifts and a card that said, "We're sorry for the misunderstanding." Misunderstanding. 7 years of deliberate neglect, and they called it a misunderstanding. I let them give Isla the gifts. It wasn't her fault they were terrible grandparents. But when they asked if they could come to her birthday party, I told them the truth. Isla didn't invite you. She gets to choose who celebrates with her now. They haven't contacted us since. Hannah, meanwhile, has apparently told extended family that I've brainwashed Isla against them. Because surely the only explanation for a 10-year-old not being excited about grandparents she barely knows is manipulation, not natural consequence. But here's the beautiful thing. Isla doesn't think about them much anymore. She's too busy with piano lessons and pottery class and planning sleepovers with friends who actually want to spend time with her. The money that used to go to family funds has grown Isla's college account to over $35,000. But more importantly, it's paid for experiences that have shaped who she's becoming. She's confident, creative, and kind. She's learning that her worth isn't determined by other people's availability. And when she grows up and has children of her own, she'll know exactly how to love them unconditionally. Because she'll remember what it felt like when someone finally chose to love her that way. That someone was me. And every day I choose her again. Best decision I ever made. So to anyone out there reading this who recognizes themselves in my story, it's okay to walk away. It's okay to protect your children from people who don't value them. It's okay to stop setting yourself on fire to keep others warm. Your peace of mind is worth more than their approval. Your child's self-worth is worth more than their presence. And your family, the real one, made up of people who choose to love you, is waiting for you to make room for them. Sometimes the best revenge is simply refusing to play a rigged game anymore. And sometimes when the bank calls asking about that fraud report, the best response is just to smile and tell the truth. I'd love to know what you think. Have you ever had to draw a line with family members? Or make a tough decision to protect your peace and your children? Share your experiences in the comments below. I really want to hear from you.